Hello, this is JJ Humphrey. We're on Elephant in the Room. Bob's taking another break. His wife died 1 year ago, and so we had a memorial service the other day, and he's still kind of dealing with that, as well as he went to step over his dog, and he'd had surgery on his knee, and he had him a little wreck, and so his knee's hurting him pretty bad. So I've got a great guest today. Karen, I misspelled your name. My bad. I spelled it Harden, and it's IN. I want to apologize for that when we sent this out. And what we're going to talk about today is we had Charity Lynch on about a week ago talking about why they were calling for a meeting. There was a letter sent out to ask for the resignation of the chairman, which is Nathan Dahm. And that meeting kind of went a little bit haywire, it sounds like. I was not there. You were there, and a lot of this was kind of moved into your direction. So one of the things we're going to talk about is some of the issues that was discussed, kind of some of what went on. And I do want to tell everybody, next week I'm going to try to find a person from the other side of this issue and have them on, and we're going to discuss that, because as me and Karen have discussed this quite a bit, I think all of us have the same heart. I believe we all have the same heart, and that is that we want, let me just say this. I think a majority of the people involved have the same heart. There may be some bad players here or there, but at the end of the day, I think we all have the same heart to see the Republican Party become the party we claim to be, to actually follow the platform, and to actually target those who claim to be something that they are not, especially if they're in leadership positions. And we saw that happen with the Speaker Pro Tem,
right.
McCourtney. And again, that should send a large message. So we got a lot of people saying, grassroots be crazy. Grassroots is going to blow this whole deal up. It's going to ruin the whole party. But I watch grassroots get off of the bench, get into the game, and I will give them a bunch of credit. I don't credit them alone for beating McCourtney, but I do credit them a lot, probably 50% for beating McCourtney. And so, again, that's putting words into action. That's what we have to have. We've seen Garvin get beat. We're seeing other people. We see people in we've got a big leader that's in a runoff that it looks very, very difficult for him to, and so we're seeing a shakeup in the leadership because of, of this grassroots movement. Would you not, you agree with that, don't you, Karen?
100%, because really we're tired of it and we're all standing up. But where I get frustrated is they say we're supposedly a small divisive faction shadow government. Well, the truth is, if you went to the state convention, there were 900 people there, which is enormously down. Every single year it keeps going down. But 900 that were there, well, 700 voted grassroots and 200 voted establishment with Nathan Dahm. So I don't know. I kind of think the little faction shadow group is that group. So we have all stood up. We've decided that we're going to vote out those who want to just continue the establishment ways. We are voting in unity. They call it, some divisive thing. No, we've just decided we're going to vote in unity. We're going to research. We're going to get out there. We've knocked doors. We print signs. I remember last year, a group of us really were starting to come together and unify. And there was a vote in Tulsa called Improve Our Tulsa, which was not improving our Tulsa. And the Tulsa GOP wouldn't even get out to do anything about it. People kept asking them, will you do something? We printed signs. We asked them if they wanted them. They're like, no, we don't want your signs. And we printed flyers. They threw them at us across the table. No, we don't want these. Well, then 2 or 3 days before the vote, in a meeting with county and precinct people in that Tulsa GOP, they're asking them, why did you not get involved? Well, we just don't have the time to get involved with everything. Now, mind you, it was $104 million tax thing that they were voting on. And somebody stood up and said, well, Karen Harden has signs and flyers, and here's her number. And suddenly the Tulsa GOP County Chair, Rhonda Beaumont Smith, said, hey, no, I've got the signs. I've got signs. Just come to me. She didn't have any signs because she refused them from us. So that's just a bunch of BS when you've got somebody that they pretend to be out there in front of issues, but they only have time to do certain issues. Or when they get out and they start going around saying how wonderful Langford is. I'm sorry, Langford ain't wonderful. We are going to vote him out. We are going to hold him accountable. And when you've got GOP members going out like Nathan, Rhonda Beaumont Smith, and others who say, we are not here to vote them out. We are here to not to hold them accountable. We are here to just keep getting them elected. I don't know who those people are, but that's not the GOP I want to be part of. And so there is very much a divide. Can we unify? Not if they're going to keep with that attitude. I am not going to unify with that because I am not going to unify with Tom Cole, Frank Lucas, Langford over the issues that they continue to vote on, which are Democrat issues. I'm a Republican, and there's a reason for that.
I went on last week. I will once again go on saying that I have publicly, even before quite a while back, over January 6th, I called Langford a traitor due to what he did on January 6th alone. But when you kick in the border, when you kick in how he's voted on some judges' issues, some other issues, not one thing, multiple things, I would say he's a traitor. As far as Tom Cole, I went and donated. I really didn't like the opponent, the look of him coming from the outside. One of them, I had another one on here. I knew that they likely didn't have an opportunity. You know, the money was just too good. The money's against you. The name recognition's against you. And again, people are not informed as to what these votes and what they're doing. Plus, Cole was, what is he? Budget chairman, which is hard to vote out. I mean, that's a hard position to vote out. So all of those things. But guess what? We've got the same issues going on in the Oklahoma House. We've got people that I can name you bill after bill after bill that every Republican ought to be just feverishly mad. I'm going to give an example. We had so Louisiana passed this 10 Commandments bill. Well, guess what? We had the same 10 Commandments bill, and they would not even allow it out of committee. I did a little magical maneuvering and kind of slipped it into a bill and thought I had it where it would have to be at least presented to them on the floor, which makes it hard because if it goes to the floor, guess what? It's going to pass. How many of them are going to go?
They're on record. Exactly.
Yeah, they know that, the public wants this. We're not going to give it to them. We're going to keep it in the back alley. So I got it all hoodooed. I did my magic and all that maneuvering. Got it into was going to come to my committee, and the night before they found out what I did and killed that bill. No, I mean just killed it. Now here's the thing. So everybody's bragging about Louisiana, and nobody knows what kind of effort went in to try to do that here in Oklahoma. Now I wrote an article the other day describing what I just said, turned it into our capital media. You want to know what our capital media said?
Nothing.
Oh, they said we won't run this. And I told them I want something in writing, and I now have it in writing. I will put out a report on that saying I've been censored or censored, whatever you want to say, how you say it. But here's the deal. Bottom line, they said, we will not put out anything that's disparaging to leadership.
Yeah, well, see, that's crazy because you don't hold him accountable. So that's what they're doing with Nathan Dahm. Nobody wants to hold him accountable.
And where I'm at, tell the truth. If telling the truth is disparaging, then shame on you. You know what I'm saying? If the truth is you didn't let it, then the disparaging part is on you. It's sad that you did that, not I did that. And so I've got that statement. I'm going to rewrite that and go,
I love it.
JJ Humphrey gets censored, and here's the deal. And I'll get 2 for 1, and I'll turn that out to the media, but it won't come out where it goes out to all the media. I'll have to try to feed the media, and then is the media going to take my report? Not as much. So again, that's where we're at. That's what when we're talking about this control is when leadership will not let everything out. I am a very, let's have transparency. That's where I'm at. If we've got the books, let's open the books. If we've got a meeting, let's have the meeting.
There you go.
Let's have it right out square and open. You don't like me, you want to cuss me, okay. You got the platform, you got 5 minutes, cuss away. But I'm gonna get my 5 minutes on platform and say why I think you're wrong. That's what democracy is about. That's what I'm about. And so again,
but see, that's not what we're getting under the Nathan Dahm regime. So consider the credentialing group was behind closed doors and had people come in one by one. That should never be behind closed doors.
Well,
and then when we brought the video in, then they physically attacked me. And everything that they're doing.
Just so our listeners know, when you say a confirmation group, or what did you call it?
It's a credentialing group. And so that's where they have.
What does that mean?
That means they have to go through, the leadership goes through, and they have to verify or credential every single person that shows up to vote to make sure that they really are who they say they are, and that they are, they've gone through all the steps and are qualified to vote. So it's very much just ensuring who the vote is. But the problem is, according to the Nathan Dahm rules, that they were trying to disqualify people for a hodgepodge of different reasons that had already been voted out as illegal actions. And again, when you're trying to do things like that behind closed doors, nobody else can be in there to watch. Nobody can see what you're doing. Tell me what's transparent about that. If you have nothing to hide, why are you hiding? It's the same with, for example, the Budget Committee and the Finance Committee. According to the rules in the Tulsa GOP manual, it says this. Let me read it to you. The accounts of the treasurer should be accessible at all times to the state chairman and vice chairman, or any member of the state finance or budget committees, or any representative, okay, shall be accessible at all times. Well, according to Nathan Dahm, that doesn't say that the accounts include bank statements, financial statements, and profit and loss, because it doesn't specifically say that. So he refuses any documents to the Budget and Finance Committee. Now, how can you be a budget and finance committee and put together a budget when you can't see bank statements, you can't see the budget, you can't see what's going in and out? He denies access to all of it. When they've gone to the treasurer and asked him, he has told them, I can't approve it because Nathan Dahm has to approve it. It always goes back to Nathan. And so when I did get quite the surprise for the state treasurer, John Elliott, I got him on the phone the other day and said, I'm Karen from Wake, Oklahoma. I'm doing an article, would like to ask you a question. Oh, I can't. I'm running into a meeting. Maybe I'll call you back this afternoon. I said, well, whether you call me back or not, I'm writing the article. I'd love to get your side of it. I said, really quick, before you walk into the meeting, would you say that's accurate, that you are not able to give financial information to the state budget committee and the financial committee? And he's like, no, maybe not exactly accurate. I said, well, what would be accurate? I can't talk to you. I'll have to call you back. Of course he didn't. And I called him back later that afternoon, got the receptionist, and I said, is he there? Yeah, he's in his office. Wait just a minute. I'll get him. And he declined to get on the phone. So they don't want to talk about this. There's no transparency. You can't have a financial committee and a budget committee that operates when you refuse to give any information whatsoever. But again, according to Nathan Dahm, I know the rules better than anyone else. He does know the rules. He knows how to twist them. And if it doesn't say these specific words in there, then he chooses to bend them and to manipulate them. So another thing, for example, according to him, there is nothing in the rules that say he has to give the vice chair access to the office, the database, the website, or the social media. Now, mind you, several others working in the office who are not elected officials have access to all of that. But the vice chair, who was elected, does not have access. And so when he was asked on an interview on Fresh Black Coffee back about 2 or 3 months ago, and they said, how do you even make that determination? That's not right. You're supposed to be working with the vice chair. And Nathan said, well, the rules don't specify that I have to give him access to that. Well, I would challenge that to say, do the rules say that he should have access to the office, or that he gets access to a desk or a pen, or that he gets access to social media? Where's the rules that say he gets access? So it's that weird manipulation of, I'm Dictator Dahm, and I will decide who by God gets access to this building. He's locked out volunteers. He's locked out the budget committee. When they've tried to have meetings, we have video of it where they tried to have a meeting and they can't even gain access to the room. They have to go convene somewhere else, and then he calls it illegitimate. What is that? I lived in China. That's Chinese Communist Party stuff. And I've lived there, and I can tell you that.
Well, I actually have called, me and you have talked before you came on here, and I'm talking to you about coming on here. I also talk to people who I don't necessarily call them the Dahm camp, because they will actually agree with some of the things that you're saying, but they feel like that there are more rules, and like y'all are breaking the rules, and that there is a more defined way, and because he is the chairman, he still makes the calls, and you got to work through this. I do understand.
But that's not what the rules say.
Well, I will publicly say it, and here's the deal. I've done it 3 times now. Nathan, you know I love you. Nathan, you know you're a good friend. But a friend is not someone who comes to you with flowers and candy. A friend's a friend who will hit you with the sharp stick over the head and go, hey, I'm going to tell you the truth. And the truth is, I can see it on talking to lots of people and talking to both sides, not trying to pick sides. Here's where I'm at. I'm a transparency guy. And if I'm over a budget, I don't need a bunch of rules to tell me. I need absolutely 0 rule to tell me if I have a budget and I'm doing a public service, and that's what you're doing, is a public service. Open the books wide, stinking open. Throw the books open and let everyone go through it that needs to go through it, or agree upon a person to go through it that everybody can agree to do a forensic audit or whatever kind of audit needs to be done. But there's a lot of questions I don't understand. It's been raised that there's a person or 2 or 3 people donated money, and it wasn't the person donating money. Right. One side said, well, that's just a mistake and it's been corrected. The other side says, no. Well, here's the deal. If it's a mistake and it's been corrected, open the books. Let us look at the corrections. Let's rock and roll. You know, if it's not, then let's see. But can you explain? Because, I mean, I'm kind of giving a loose explanation because I don't really understand that. But can you more go into detail how that we could get money donated in the wrong person's name and what that means?
Exactly. So at the end of November 2023, the last 3 days of the month, evidently there were 22 donations that were made, and they were very easy to find because they showed up as $500.01, $500.02, $500.03. So one day you had a certain amount that went up that they increased incrementally by 1 cent. The next day you had another amount, and the third day you had another amount. Now, what's interesting about that is if you go back, they didn't just populate in that numerical order, 01 cents, 02 cents, 03 cents. It kind of maneuvered around to different numbers, but it equaled up 1 cent increments up to 22 cents. So immediately one of the budget committee members saw it, not because Dahm or the treasurer were turning over financials, but you can see that online, the donations that are made. Well, that stands out because it's weird, right? So he noticed the name of one of the people that had given, and he knew that person very well, called them up and said, hey, just curious, did you give this $500 donation at such and such a time? They're like, I've never given that amount. Well, so it alerted him. Now, if Dahm's administration had been transparent, what would he have done? He would have called the treasurer to say, hey, can you explain this? What's going on? But they've been denied any access to any financials. They just have been strong-armed. So he called the FEC. It was Joe Vaden. He called the FEC and he said, hey, I think we've got a problem here. Well, evidently, before that investigation could launch, they got wind of it. They amended the report. And by the time the FEC did the investigation, they're like, hey, we amended the report. Yeah, it was an auto-populated glitch. That's what Nathan Dahm says now. Well, this is the deal. If it's an auto-populated glitch, you could make it reoccur again, right? Because if there's an issue you can make it happen again. That's not been possible. The other thing is, if it's an auto-populated glitch, it would happen in just exactly that numerical order: 01, 02, 03, 04, 05 cents, 06 cents, and it would have happened all on the same day. That's not what happened. It was over a 3-day period, and it was all different amounts. So there were 2 different people that I knew, I recognized their names, called them up and said, did you make this $500 donation? And one of them, her name was Linda Russell. And she's like, no, I would know if I made a $500 donation. I said, have you ever given to the Oklahoma GOP? She said, yeah, I signed up to give to their monthly Minuteman contribution of $17.76 a month. The other person I called, same thing. She had given to that monthly thing. So, how does it suddenly populate into this $500 amount when you can't make that error happen again? So they can say it was an auto-populated glitch. Okay, then, like you said, show us the bank statements, because you moved, money was there, you had to remove it. Where did that money go? How did it just suddenly populate?
Has anybody been able to look? Has this group that came in and looked been able to say, okay, we know of at least 3 glitches. Have you taken those glitches off? And does the dollar amounts jive
exactly
with that?
Exactly.
So that's what y'all are wanting to see, and also a list of all the people so that you can go through and contact people and say, did you donate? Did you donate? And if there's the money that seems to be, so if I talk to a person and they say never donated, then you should be $500 short. If I talk to a third one, $1,000 short, $1,500 short, and if I talk to 20 of them, then we should be roughly $10,000 if the math is any good, But anyways, that's what y'all are asking to see, correct?
Right. And not just that, but just running the office in general. So there's bills, there's the rent, there's the electric, there's the water, just normal operating costs. Well, the budget committee is in charge of that, right? They are supposed to be in charge. They are the overseers to make sure that there is money in the account and things are being handled right. So they had told Dahm early on, you can't hire anybody without running it through us first to make sure that there's money to be able to pay them. Well, in Dahm fashion, the executive director had stepped down. That was Josh Kraft. He hired Stan Stevens without running it by the budget committee. Suddenly, Stan Stevens just shows up in the next budget committee meeting, and they're like, who is this? And why did you hire him? What we told you, don't hire anybody unless we approve it. He said, well, that didn't apply to this because I'm just replacing somebody that was already there. Well, that's not what he was told. And again, they can't see any financials. So who's paying these bills? Where's the money coming from? Are we operating in the red? Are we operating in the black? Are they just charging this to credit cards? And the next guy who steps in is going to have an enormous amount of money to pay off.
Well, does the board have authority over him, or does he have authority over the board?
According to the state GOP rules, the state committee is the supreme authority. So people think the chair means it's like the president. It's not that at all. The state committee, which is made up of 300 some odd people, are the supreme authority, and Dahm is there to put forward their resolutions and what they say. That's not how he acts. He ignores. There's been 22 resolutions that they have voted in since last May, I believe, and every single one he has ignored. Some of them have been rules that have been added back into the GOP, how to run some of these meetings. He's ignored it. The censure against Langford and Leslie Osborne, he ignored it. And in fact, after it was released, yes.
Can I stop you 1 second?
Mm-hmm.
I want to go on record saying any censure of Leslie Osborne, any kicking out of Leslie Osborne, any bad talk of Leslie Osborne, any. In fact, if there's any bad talking, I'll volunteer to do the bad talking.
I know, right?
Leslie Osborne. So as bad as I feel about, I feel that Langford has traded us, and that he has just sold us out down the river and is a traitor. But worse with Leslie is she is not just a traitor to the Republican Party, but she attacks the Republican Party. She's attacked me. She's attacked a lot of my good friends, and she has attacked, like Sean Roberts. She gets out there, attacks him, and talks about when all we needed to do, I don't know why old Sean didn't run the video after. She made a video where she downs all the Republicans for their stance against abortion and then talks about gays and all this. I would have just run that video I would have just let her talk all day and run that video all day. And I think he could have won if he had done that. So I just want to go on record saying I'm 1,000% supporting of getting rid of, or at least censoring both of those people and letting them know that the Republican Party does not agree with them and does not support them.
Well, and so for people who don't know who Leslie Osborne is, she is our Oklahoma Labor Commissioner. She has an R behind her name, but she sat on the board. In fact, I think she chaired the board of an organization that was putting out transgender coloring books to put in the schools that had graphic illustrations of anal sex, and she's supporting this. And so once the word got out that she was actually on that board, of course it disappeared from the website. She denied it, but we have screenshots. So she was censured for that. Langford was censured because of his border bill. And so once it was released to the media, of course it went big that Oklahoma State Committee had censured Langford based on what happened with the border bill. And within a day, both Nathan Dahm and AJ Ferrati, who had served as legal counsel, they both issued reports saying it didn't happen. Well, he doesn't have the right to overturn what happened in the state committee because, again, he's not the supreme authority. They are. But that's the illegalities of what Nathan Dahm does because he is dictator Dahm. He thinks he doesn't have to abide by what anybody else did. I actually sent him an email, and it was back in December, and I said, Nathan, we are asking you it was January. We're asking you to rise up and be the leader that God has called you to be. And I said, did you ever wonder why Judas was asked to be the treasurer for Jesus's group, right? For the 12 disciples, because it doesn't make any sense. Matthew would have been a logical choice because he had served as what? A tax collector. So the whole mathematic thing would have been Matthew, but they chose Judas. And I said, I believe it's because God knew, Jesus knew that there was a component within Judas and he needed to rise above it. There was a weak link and he needed to rise above it. And he was given an opportunity and Judas failed. And I said, right now, Nathan, I believe you are given an opportunity. I said, we all know you have a weak link. Everybody has them, in which he doesn't play well with others. He doesn't know how to lead an organization. And I said, God is giving you an opportunity not only to lead the Oklahoma GOP, but to bring together a group that is very divided. And I said, I believe you have that leadership skill in you. I said, the question is, will you do it? He wouldn't respond. And then he began to try and overturn a state committee meeting, calling it illegitimate, which is what he does when he doesn't want to have a vote over something. It's what he did when he tried to overturn this vote to remove him. He just goes in and calls it illegitimate. And then he sends out emails telling people, don't show up, don't come vote. So we weren't able to vote him out yesterday because he had sent out emails telling the people, don't come, we're not going to have a vote, this is illegitimate. Well, that's called interference. You've sent out a lie, an email lying because you didn't want to be removed. How is that godly? How is that integrous? That's a lie. So I don't know what to do with that other than, will it be revisited? Oh yeah, it'll be revisited. So Nathan Dahm will eventually get removed. And whether that's before he gets removed in May when there's a next election, or if we're able to remove him before then. But right now we can get nothing done because he locks people out. He won't give us the database. He doesn't let us grow the party. There's so much deception down there. We don't even know what's going on.
Well, fortunately, in the state of Oklahoma, we really don't probably have a concern whether Trump's going to win or not. But what people need to hear is what's going on and why is this such a critical issue is because, if we were a state that was close and this was going on right now, guess what? We're going to be ineffective when we come out and we start trying to run. This is what Democrats want to see in the Republican Party. This is why, I said earlier, last week, Jesus actually said this. Lincoln gets credit for it, but united we stand, divided we fall. Jesus said, if I'm Beelzebub, then how does Beelzebub fight?
Right.
Beelzebub. So actually, Jesus was the one giving that ideal. But here's the thing: it's a I don't say law, but it's a principle that has stood the entirety of time, divided, we're not going to stand. And so again, we've got to find people who are willing to work on both sides of these issues. And again, transparency is the sunlight to start with. Transparency
Absolutely.
to say, look, I will open these books up. There's nothing wrong with books. We made a couple of mistakes. We fixed them. Numbers jive. Then everybody, that's how you shut everything up on that. That's an easy problem to solve.
All of these problems are easy to solve. Every single one is easy to solve if we can just come to the table and have a discussion and do what the rules say. But Nathan has refused. Nobody wanted to have to vote him out. Are you kidding me? But what else do you do when they refuse to answer emails? They refuse phone calls. They refuse to turn over delegate lists. They refuse to post these resolutions that have been passed. Then he negates resolutions that have been passed. What do you do with that? And so who do you appeal to? Oh, gee, he's the top person as far as the chair. So we can go to a civil court, but they're not going to want to rule on the Oklahoma GOP rules. Technically it is the state committee who are the supreme authority. But this is what Nathan does. Well, we've taken this to legal counsel and they have told us we are within our rights. Well, gee, let's look who their legal counsel is. That would be AJ Ferrati, who's been in there about 20 years, who just has manipulated rules for years and years and years. That doesn't count as legal counsel. That counts as a manipulative lawyer who is manipulating the rules. So I don't know what you do with this.
I can't tell you, if you want to go to legal counsel and say, should we pass the 10 Commandment bill? Do you want to take a bet? That Louisiana is fixing to be in a legal battle because of their 10 Commandment bill? And again, if you were to listen to legal advice, they would say, do not pass. Well, guess what? If you followed that advice, we would have never beat Roe versus Wade. When I got up there, we had 2 or 3 lawyers and 2 or 3 from the Christian community who were so-called authorities on this. And I've had very many conversations with these so-called high authority that now I would think he'd have to come back and go, I was wrong, because guess what? We did overturn. And because again, and to hear, people talk about Trump the other day, well, Roe versus Wade, he's wrong on that and he's lying on that. He's not lying on it. They use political to set the court. That's right. How Roe versus Wade got. We use political because guess what? That's what it is. When you're deciding if you're in power, you set the court the way that the people you believe and think alike on all of that. So to say, well, we're going to legal, again, I think we ought to confide in legal. I think we talk to legal, but using legal as a excuse or as a, to avoid doing.
Excuse would be accurate.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of legal. Here's what I'm a big fan of, Nathan. If you get this, if you listen, if you people on Nathan's side listen to this, man, I'm as radical. Everybody who knows me knows I'm radical. My opponents try to make me out to be crazy, radical, unable to work with, just out of control. That's a big lie. If you're ever around me, I'm very easy to get along with. Now, I will go after you if I think you're lying. If I think you're not doing what's right, I will go after you. I'll be your worst enemy. But if we're doing what's right, guess what? I'm probably one of the easiest people to work with and go, hey, do whatever you do, whatever you want to do. I don't care, as long as you're doing right. And so here's where I'm at, Nathan. It doesn't matter about a lot of rules. How about look at what's right? It's right to open the books. It's right to open the books. You got people around you that are backing you who do not agree with you. I know some people that are fighting for you, Nathan, who 100%, and maybe some of the people that you're kind of at odds with may even more agree on, what I'm saying? There's a lot of people don't agree with not opening books or not following some of these rules. But again, the way they feel is, well, as long as he's the chair, that's what we've got to do. We've got to back. Everybody's got their own opinion, but Nathan, the one guy who can fix all this, bring everybody to the table, is you. You're still the chairman. You didn't get voted out the other day. People will have argument with it. People don't like the way you got voted in. People don't like a bunch of stuff. But guess what? You can stop right now, come to the table, and start. Let's take. I would say take that list that you got and just start right at the top and go. Let's fix this.
Yeah.
Let's fix this. Let's fix this. Let's sit down. Let's everybody shut up. Let's everybody. I've got a solution how to fix it. Y'all gonna be happy with that. If you're not happy, then let's hear it. You know, that's how you get business done. That's the way you fix the stuff.
And quit talking down to us. You know, one of his favorite comments, he said it to the news last night, is, you know, just because you call the sky green doesn't mean the sky is green. Well, you know what? I exactly agree with him. So he was saying it in reference to the meeting yesterday. Well, just because he calls the meeting illegitimate doesn't make it illegitimate. The more times he says it, doesn't make it true. So the state committee voted that it was his meeting that he called to try and stop our meeting. That was the illegitimate meeting. Doesn't matter how many times he says our meeting was illegitimate. His was, according to the rules. Doesn't matter how many times he says he doesn't have to open up the office to Wayne Hill. He does. So we're just tired of him calling the sky green and thinking we all are going to suddenly agree with it. It's not the truth.
Well, you know, and I would think he would understand that because Nathan's a lot like me. The Capitol has made me out to be toxic. They make me out to be toxic. They make me out to I have no solutions. Here's what's funny. If I got no solutions, then why do they steal all my bills? Why if I'm the one who don't have solutions, you rob my bills? The other thing is I've got a lot of people come to me and go, hey, if there's ever anybody could put this to work, you're the one who could put it to work. People know that about me, yet they will say that I'm a troublemaker, I'm toxic, I can't get along with anybody. I get along. I don't know anybody I don't get along with. Maybe I've made Regina. If Regina was mad at me, Regina, I still love you. And you got a lot of backbone, Regina. I do like that and respect that you do fight for your people. But here's the deal. Regina could be mad at me. Maureen Turner, the gay, binary, Muslim, non-binary, I think is what she calls herself. She could probably have right to be mad at me. I think she's probably mad at me. I would understand that. Anybody else up there? I don't know anybody else. But they make me out to be toxic. Why? Because I call out stuff. Because I'm calling it out the way it should be. I'm standing up trying to get stuff done. And anytime you do that, then you're wrote off as toxic, as out of control, as a troublemaker. You know, all of that. Nathan has had that tag on him for I don't know how long, maybe worse than I have had on me. And you would think of anybody, any leader that would understand about that tag, he would be it. And for me, if I see 700 versus 200, even if I don't agree with you, majority, that's what you look at is majority. And meaning to me, I got to sit down and listen to them because that's where the majority of people are coming from. And so again, you've got to give them a place at the table and hear from them. Now that's my view of where we're at. And again, I've heard several of and lack of a better word, establishment, because I don't think even the people we're talking about that are kind of the establishment. Now, you know, Pam Pollard got voted out. I would probably call Pam an establishment type person. You know what I'm saying? I would not call Nathan an establishment type person. But when
he stands up for Langford and Osborne, yeah, I throw him in that camp at that point. Well, as a senator, he's been amazing. As an Oklahoma GOP, he's probably at the very bottom. That's the difference.
Well,
it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
When you start backing all of that, that's where you get labeled establishment, and he is getting labeled establishment because, and several other people who have come in kind of related to all that say, well, this is going to blow up and your group is going to just ruin the party. And here's what I would say on that. Be careful, because you're looking at the majority of the people. Be careful. And I will also say, what have we done with the party for the last 10 years? I've been in office 8 years, fixing to start my 10th. Guess what the state Republican Party has done for old JJ? That would be Zippo. So I don't get any money from the group at the Capitol, because I'm radical and I'm a toxic, and I'm amazed they didn't get me an opponent this year. I just was blown away. So I don't get help from them. In fact, I look for the knife from them. You know what I'm saying? But I don't get help from the Republican Party, and I do get help from my local Republican Party. They're awesome. They're great. But as far as my local Republican Party feeling like they're a part of the state party, guess what? Down here in southeastern Oklahoma, I'll give you a good example. And if it wouldn't have been for one of the board members or one of the officers on there, we would have never got this done. But we changed chair people. So we got a younger guy chair, and he just, I think, didn't know it's going to be that much work. And he resigned. And so we brought back the other person who was just kind of, I'm getting older. We need to let somebody young have it, and wanted to encourage some young. But when they found out how much work was involved, it's like, okay. So we brought her back. Well, we tried to get recognized. We couldn't get nothing at the state. We couldn't get recognized as the state. And it took us a lot of calling. I finally called a person on the officer. And again, they had to go to work and get it done. But I don't know that we'd ever got it done had it not been for that. And that's kind of when you're out here in the boondocks, you just feel pretty left out of the whole system. And then to drive up there. So again, in talking about these memos that go out, if you live 2.5 hours, 3 hours, even 3.5 hours from there, and you get a memo saying, we're not meeting, we're not voting, this is all a ruse. Well, you're not coming. You're not going to drive up there.
Of course.
Back and forth 6 hours, spend a whole day doing that,
Well, and then the other side, I saw this happen in October. I was at the state committee meeting, and it was in my backyard, which was in Wagner County, Coweta. And so I'm just serving on the credentialing team, which is the ones that check people in and make sure they're actually legal to come in and vote. And so one of the people came from 5 hours away, 5 hours to attend the meeting as a state committee member, and texted and said, there was traffic, there was road construction. And we know in Oklahoma, there's road construction everywhere.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. We're working on fixing them roads.
Okay. So he texted to say, I'm going to be 5 minutes late. Let me in. Because evidently there's a rule that if you are not there right at the time, that sometimes they actually lock the doors. Well, Matthew Vermillion, Wagner County Chair, he's one of those legalists that by God, we're going to do that. So this guy says, I'm going to be 5 minutes late, and they weren't wanting to let him in. So thankfully they did. But can you imagine the frustration to drive 5 hours, you're late 5 minutes, and they're not going to let you in because he was a grassroots voter. And there's that manipulation. Well, if you're establishment, he wouldn't have had any trouble getting in probably. But because he was grassroots, you broke the rules.
Let me tell you this, for me, wouldn't matter whether you're grassroots or establishment. If you called in and you said, I'm driving 5.5 hours and I'm in traffic and I can't get there, and I've called and I'm going to be there, then we should make an exception.
Absolutely.
For any of those type of people. And again, if nothing started, now if we're in the middle of something and you've missed a bunch of stuff, maybe not, but at the end of the day, 5 minutes, you ain't missed a whole lot in 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
They haven't missed anything. But those are the kind of shenanigans that we watch and that we're playing with. So is there enormous frustration? Well, yes. Who wouldn't be frustrated over that? Did we want to make this work? We did. Now, you just gave Nathan an encouragement. Nathan, come to the table. Let's open up those books. Let's try and make this work. And I would say, in fact, Nathan, if you're watching, I would say that this can still be resolved.
It can.
Open up the books. Let's let Wayne Hill in the office quit hiding the information. Show us the receipts. Show us what's happening. We would love to come in and sit with you and resolve this so we don't have to vote your butt out.
Karen, and I want to give Nathan, if you're watching this, I'm going to give you an example of what I'm saying. I give Wayne Hill nothing but purity hell over survey. I went on publicly and laughed, go, well, in Wayne's world, we got a survey, and Regina's a better Republican than me. I don't know what you spoke in, but give me some. I did all that. I mean, I poured it on him. But then afterwards, you know what I did? I called Wayne and I asked Wayne, would you come on this program? Had to send word, and we kind of did it through a third party. And sent word and said, look, I ain't going to beat you up. I'm going to ask you straight questions, why you did this. But here's what's
Fair
funny.
enough.
What's funny, me and Wayne, we got a little different approach. I'm not quite as quick to burn the house down as Wayne, but I probably stand there with some gas thinking about it while Wayne maybe, you know what I'm saying? Me and Wayne, we're pretty close in heart on several issues. You know what I'm saying? So, but here's the deal. If Wayne is my vice and I'd have 1,000% me, let's say we're totally night and day. He's still the elected vice chair. We're still going to sit down. And here's where I'm at. Just like I had Wayne on here, we had a good talk before he came on here, just like me and you had a talk on stuff. I've talked to others who's on the other side, trying to get a whole picture of everybody's opinion on every side to try to make a rational, hey, what really happened or what do we need to do? I don't really care what happened. What do we got to do? Fix the problem. That's what I'm more. Let's be solution oriented. But here's the thing: agree or disagree, Wayne's your vice chair, and I would sit down. And here's the deal: one of the things I would say to Wayne, hey, we got to get on the same page and quit cutting each other's throat. We got to quit doing that. But Wayne come on here, even though we had a disagreement, and and guess what? We agree on 99% of the stuff. And here's what I told Wayne: I love your heart. I may not always agree with you, but that'd probably make you right 50% of the time. But here's the deal. What I do love is that you're not sitting back talking about it. You got off the bench. You're in the game. You're putting skin on the game. You make a mistake. And you know what was funny, Karen? He did not try to justify the survey. He said, bad move. I think what he said, I'd have to go back and look at it. But you know what? It was like, yeah, we could have done that better. We shouldn't have wrote that out. Okay. And then I said, look, I'm not going to just keep beating you up. I want to get with you and I want to work to do stuff and I want to be a partner with you. And so the things that Wayne Hill's doing, I want to partner up with him to say, let's get those 700 people backing you off the bench. Imagine how effective we can be if we actually activated 700,000 people. We would be, we could take back our capital, and my goal, take back the capital. Take it away from these 3 or 4 on each side who are answering to the big money, to dark money, to all of the woke, and to all of the corporate money up there. And let's take it away from them. Let's start things to where you can actually see this bill comes in. How did it die? Where did it get assigned to? Who voted? I want people to see how I voted. I want every vote. I don't have a problem. Every vote I have ought to be public, and the people I represent ought to see, am I representing them or am I not representing? From committee right on up. Now, that's where I'm at.
And so what happens in those committees, yes, that should be completely transparent, and we should see what's going on there because we are tired of stuff going there and dying a slow death because it was intentional that it's lied to a slow death.
And I'm all for that. Hey, we're getting pretty close to wrapping up. Kind of tell us the video deal. We could have stayed on 2 hours. We didn't even get into the video deal. Wayne asked you to go into this room. Several people didn't think that you should be in the room, that you should have the access, is what I understand. and now you're videoing, and they're saying that you can't video. It's my understanding, and there's some disruption happened. Kind of walk us through that before we get off here.
So just their disruption is I'm just there because Wayne asked me to video it. So for posterity's sake, because it's always their word against our word. So we've had to record and video everything. So I'm simply standing in there. Matthew Vermillion was running that credentialing meeting, closed door meeting, hidden meeting. Walk in there. I'm holding up my video just like this. So she gets the back of her head up against my phone, which was videoing. And so I just would go around it. So she pushes against me, trying to get me to stop. I don't stop. I don't say a word, though. I'm just videoing. I'm not saying anything. She turns around. She grabs my arms and she tries to wrestle the phone out of my hands. It's all on video.
Who's that?
Martha Vermillion. So she's Wagner County, Matthew Vermillion, the Wagner County chair. It's his wife. I think she's secretary of Wagner County. And so I say in the video.
So is she a designated person to be in that room?
Only because her husband said it, but she has no credibility as far as she's not a state committee person. So I guess he put her on the credentials team. But that's the funny thing, too, is their credentials people are all their people. It's not like 50% grassroots, 50% establishment, which would make sense, right? Let's have a fair group. But it's always the same people, and it's behind closed doors. Nobody can see what's going on. So her husband finally got her off of me. She leaves. She goes to get the sheriff, which I find ironic because she was the one doing the wrong thing. Then that's when Galen Stupik, the Oklahoma State Secretary, so a high position, she comes over and she's yelling at people to get me out of the room. I just keep videoing. I'm not saying anything. And so she's right in my face. And so I do finally ask her, I said, why are you interrogating the county chairs to find out why their people can or can't be in here? Because it's all paper record. And she turns around, she starts yelling at me that they're not doing that and I need to get out. And then she grabs me just as Martha did, and she tries to wrestle the phone out of my hands. It can all be seen on video, so they shouldn't deny it because I've got the video. So then she walks out. She goes to report to Nathan, and Nathan says a little bit later, yeah, there's these people causing disruptions, and it's their fault that we have such a delay. They'd already delayed 2 hours. It's their fault, and they have no business inserting themselves into these policies. Well, I have just as much right to ask why it's a delaying, but I didn't. Vice Chair Wayne Hill did. I'm simply videoing. So the sheriff comes back in. He says, nobody can touch anybody. And I said, well, they touched me. And he said, were you hurt? I said, no. I mean, my wrist hurts, but I didn't have to go to the hospital or anything. And so he said, everybody just needs to stop. That's fine. So I just quietly continue to video as they try and work out the resolution and to get the meeting going. And then Martha Vermillion begins to walk out. She sees me with the video one more time with the sheriff standing right there, and she slams her hand into my phone trying to get it, all on video. So the sheriff starts to usher her out. Somebody on the outside with video gets her screaming at them that she didn't give me right to video her. Well, I don't have to have her permission to video. It's supposed to be a public meeting. It's supposed to be happening. And I was given permission by Vice Chair Wayne Hill to record what was happening. Well, I'm really glad I did. So that's what's going on. We did file a report with the sheriff. Should both Martha Vermillion and Galen Stupik have to step down from their positions? Well, yes, they should, because we shouldn't have any official in that capacity acting like that toward just regular GOP members. I don't hold an office. I'm just there trying to make sure things are happening to grow our party, to see good people elected, and they're attacking me physically. I just find that funny. And then they're the ones that brought the sheriffs in because they said we get violent. Well, who got violent? It would be them.
Well, and I do want to say, I always like to be very upfront because I didn't know Gail was one of these people. I've always known Gail like Gail. I know Nathan like Nathan. And she's done a hell of a great job, trying, and that's an unpaid position. And so again, I'm not taking sides on that issue. And if she did something,
the video speaks for itself.
Yes. But here's the thing. The question is, does Wayne have the authority to give you permission to tape? And if not, then that should have been taken up with Wayne. It should have been taken up with you. What should have happened Wayne told me to do it. Then there should have been a discussion. Does Wayne have the authority to let you tape? I think that that's going to be probably an issue. It will be the issue. Here's where I'm at. Again, this is just me. Tape away. You know what? I used to have, man, I've had a lot of people want to sue me. I've had a lot of people want to go after me, threaten me, whatever. I often just pulled out a tape player and said, hey, for this, I'm going to tape and we're going to do that. I've lost what the world happened.
Well, according to Oklahoma, you don't have to have permission.